Hi everyone, my name is Yitz Epstein. I'm a life coach and I work at the Psychological Healing Center of Dr. Judy Rosenberg, and I'm joined today by Joseph. Joseph, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Joseph is a former patient and the MindMap graduate. The MindMap system we use at the Psychological Healing Center to help patients recover from childhood wounds. Today we're going to be talking about stuffing down your feelings and cutting off your emotions. And to begin, the destructive nature of disowning your feelings, depersonalization or derealization, and not accepting your feelings is one that can wreak havoc on your life, men, women, regardless of who you are. And when you're not allowed to express these feelings, usually because you've been maybe abandoned, abused, rejected, and forced to cope by stuffing down your feelings, it's going to wreak havoc throughout your life. And Joseph, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your specific experiences with the abandonment wound and how this forced you to cope by stuffing down your feelings.
Yeah, well, so when I was a kid, I never even learned anything about like how to talk about your emotions or talk through a problem. Like that just wasn't something that I learned. Like in hindsight, probably would have been good if I learned, like if I was having a fight with my brother, to just like sit down and say like why I'm upset, why he's upset. Oh yeah,
communicate.
Like, yeah, communicate. Like I'm really mad at you right now, but like that doesn't mean that you're not my brother anymore. And you see this like later on in relationships where it's like,
sure,
oh, I can't have a fight without thinking like, oh, we're gonna break up now.
Sure.
So anyways, yeah, I never learned how to talk about emotions, and I honestly just went through life like that, like thinking that was okay, thinking I was strong for never having to talk about emotions. Like I turned it into that. I tried to like justify it that way.
Yeah.
Like I remember, years ago, my girlfriend had just dumped me, and it was like that night I went to hang out with one of my friends, and I started crying about it, about my girlfriend dumping me, which is, I really definitely never did that. Like I never cried in front of other guys or girls or anybody, and his response is like, it's like, hey man, like, and it was a genuine like heartfelt, he's like, hey man, like he like punched me and was like,
yeah,
come on man, like snap out of it, and like at the time that kind of made me feel better. I was like, oh okay, yeah, you're right man, and like and like that was actually like kind of a loving interaction, but like I thought that helped me. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right, just stuff it back down, and that was how like I lived my life. And now, having actually examined my emotions, everything I was stuffing down like that, like everything else, I realized that like I stuffed all this stuff down because I was afraid to talk about it, because I felt inept. Like I didn't learn how to do it, so I didn't want to like put myself out there in a situation that I didn't know how to handle.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, feelings. First of all, if you're in early childhood are told your feelings aren't valid, you learn to kind of disconnect and feel that they are worthless. And then when you start feeling those feelings, you're already so wired to believe that these feelings are not valid and not necessary, that you then go ahead and self-sabotage by kind of cutting off from those emotions. And as you mentioned previously, and as you've seen, I mean, if you do stuff down your feelings, you are almost like disconnecting from yourself and disconnecting from your ability to express yourself and connect. So communication is obviously a way we're communicating our emotions, but if you can't even be in touch with your emotions, you can't communicate those emotions. And what we do end up communicating are emotions that are very troubling and traumatic, and those are what get expressed, and not our true feelings of how we truly feel, like I love you brother, or I love you friend or partner. So talk a little bit about what it did to your like relationships, interacting with other people, and how you were able to and what it might have done to relationships and how you coped.
So one thing that stifling all my emotions constantly did was make me unable to talk about emotional things or really feel connected to people. Because you're saying like, if you can't connect with your own emotions, there's that disconnect. So you're disconnected from yourself. How can you connect to another human being?
No, it's impossible.
Yeah, which was something that I always felt like I lacked and I craved, and then I would get in a relationship and the time would come to talk about something emotional or personal, or even just personal, and I wouldn't be able to do it.
Sure. And one of the things also is that there's a lot of shame in being forced to stuff down your feelings. You feel weak, and you feel like in order to survive you have to stuff down your feelings, but then you also feel like you feel shame about the fact that you can't express what you're feeling, and this shame sometimes gets triggered in relationships. So if you're going to go ahead and talk to me about my emotions, well, you're also going to end up pulling up my shame and my guilt and the feelings that I've stuffed down about how maybe weak I was as a child, that I couldn't protect myself from the parent, from being abused. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, another thing I want to mention too, real quick, is like, you know, I mentioned like crying in front of my friend. Like I had never done that. I was very like, that's like embarrassing. You know, I was taught that's embarrassing, and I was, you know, I thought like, because I can just, if I feel like crying sometime, I can just stop. Like I have that ability. I was like proud of that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I don't need to cry.
I have self-control, like strong.
Yeah, exactly. But now I realize like, crying is a physical necessity. You know, just like expressing any emotion, like it's a way to physically process the effects that like, you know, a negative emotion has on your body and on your brain. And if you don't do that, it's like not exhaling, you know, like you're gonna die. You know, it's like you actually have to do it, and it will relieve a lot of inner stress. And so it's like the fact that I was embarrassed or learned to be embarrassed about that was insane. Like, that's not like, that's ridiculous.
In many ways, yeah, it is cruel, and you know, it creates a sense of really worthlessness, because if I can't express myself, and therefore I can't value my feelings, and then other people can't value my feelings, because, you know, obviously if I'm not in touch with myself, therefore other people can't be, it's going to create an extreme disconnect, which leads to, you know, in the mind map system we talk about mental illness. It leads to mental illness according to the system. So tell me a little bit about what this has done to relationships and how it forced you to react in certain ways that maybe you didn't even want to.
Well, it would definitely cause me to push people away that wanted to talk about personal stuff.
Get to know you. They want to get to know you and hang out. Yeah.
Even just like, I remember one time, like, you know, when I was in college, which was definitely at the height of my like emotional unhealthiness. Like there was like, you know, one of my friends, she was like dating one of my friends, and she would come to our house sometimes, and she'd be like, hey, you know, hey, like, how you doing? Like, what's going on? And like I literally was like, why do you always ask me that? Like,
you're making me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I was uncomfortable like even answering that. Like that's, and in hindsight, that's insane. You know, I can't even believe that like I was like that, because now I can freely talk about that. I can answer someone who asks me how I'm doing and talk about something much more deeper than that openly. Yeah. And it feels great, and like it doesn't affect my relationships. I don't push people. I don't even push a random stranger like that away, and that's like way more fulfilling. Like I feel happy. I feel like there's not like this level of stress that I used to have, like which was just a protective layer.
Yeah, and you don't have to continuously protect yourself from threats that don't really exist, and that is how we connect on a human level, getting in touch with our emotions. So thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel. Please like and share if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to the webinar we'll be having below. We have a link below to sign up, which we'll be having every Sunday for those who are struggling to recover from narcissistic abuse. And like I said, thank you so much, Joseph, for coming on.
Thank you.
Please feel free to subscribe and like this video and share. Thank you so much.